Great,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the movie review portion of Talk of the Town. I hope you've enjoyed the show so far. We're having a lot of fun today, and I have with me again the best movie critic in the world, Eileen. Eileen, what are you going to share with us today?
I'm going to share with you a couple of films that are still out in the theaters. Actually, one just opened in the theaters last week, and 3 that are on DVD. So
Good. I love
couple
to
of the
save
movies,
money.
couple
I
on
can get
DVD.
those DVD.
I know, I've come to realize that most people aren't as lucky as I am to be able to go to the movies as often as I do, and most people do catch their movies on DVD.
You are fortunate.
I know I am. I'm very, very lucky. But I work till 7 a.m. in the morning, go home, sleep for 2 hours, and go to the movie.
Well, tell people a little bit about you, because they understand what do you mean by that.
Well, I'm an ER nurse at County Hospital in Dorchester, and I work mostly nights, either 7 at night till 3 in the morning or 11 at night till 7 in the morning. And I'm not a great sleeper during the day, so I'll go home, grab a few hours sleep, get up, and if I'm lucky, go see a movie.
I forgot my mic.
And then put it
So
on,
you work all
right?
night, you
Work
sleep
all
for an
night,
hour, and then go to a
sleep
movie.
for a little bit, and go to the movies if I'm lucky.
If you're lucky. You are lucky.
All right.
All right, well, let's talk about what?
You know it's a good movie if I don't nod off. So.
Right, because you're already halfway gone when you get there.
All right, so we're going to start by talking about a movie that came out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that's doing phenomenally at the box office, and it's called 300. And 300 was directed by 41-year-old Zack Snyder, who was born in Wisconsin but grew up in Vermont. And he's probably most noted for the 2004 Dawn of the Dead remake, which was okay if you like that kind of horror movie. But anyway,
I missed that one.
Yeah. 300 is adapted from Frank Miller's 1998 graphic novel, and it tells the story of the 480 BC Battle of Thermopylae, in which a paltry 300 Spartan soldiers are pitted against hundreds of thousands of Persian invaders. And Miller, his probably most noted work to date is another graphic novel called Sin City that they made into a movie that I did not like at all. So I have to tell you, I was a little bit reluctant to see this film, but I saw the previews and I thought it looked really interesting. So I went and I saw it.
What is a graphic novel?
Graphic novel.
Is that just a comic book of some sort?
Oh gosh, don't say that. People would not be happy with you saying that. But I guess if you had to boil it down, it's a big comic book. It's a novel.
Folks, did you hear that? It's not a comic
illustrated.
book. It's a big comic book.
It's beautifully illustrated, but it's a longer story. No, it's large print. It's just a big story, longer story. Anyway, so I did go.
You mean this isn't based on a true story?
Well, this is actually this battle did happen,
Okay.
and I'm not so sure how historically accurate Frank Miller's version is. But
Okay.
yes, there was a battle of Thermopylae in 480 BC in which Greek soldiers were greatly outnumbered by Persian soldiers.
Okay.
So it is in fact based in fact, but I don't know how much leverage he took with his presentation of those facts.
Fine.
So anyway, I did go by myself to see this, and it was me and
We
about
still need someone to go to the
50
movies with
guys.
Eileen.
It was all
Excuse
guys,
me?
all men. I was the only woman in the whole place, and I was surprised to see the varying age group of the people going to see it. I thought it would attract mostly younger men, but there were young men, middle-aged men, and older men. There was lots and lots of different kinds of men at this, and let me tell you why.
Okay, we're ready.
It's based on a graphic novel, and I'll have to tell you, it looks a little more animated than live action at times. Soldiers fly gracefully through the air, spears at their sides, shields protecting their...
Definitely a true story.
protecting their mostly naked bodies.
Oh.
And what bodies they are. Before filming began, the first raid must have been on the local Gold's Gym, where all the muscle men were hauled in front of the camera. Every Spartan has a six-pack to die for, arms as big as my legs, and chests and backs in constant state of flexion.
Would you like to show your legs to the folks at home?
They're pretty good size, I must say. These are manly men whose only purpose in life is to die for their beloved Sparta, home to their equally beautiful and well-proportioned women. So there's something definitely for the men to look at.
But what good is it if you're
beautiful,
dead?
respectful children, that's true. In contrast, the Persians are depicted as unworthy adversaries, disorganized, and led by what I can best describe as a transvestite Mardi Gras queen. That's what their king looked like to me. He rode in on huge floats. That's why I kind of thought Mardi Gras. He has piercings all over his face. He's got beautiful makeup. I wish I knew how to do it as well as he did. But very unmanly, almost, is how the Persian king is depicted. So anyway, 37-year-old Scotsman Gerard Butler plays the Greeks' King Leonidas. He's a king who commands respect, and his men love him enough to follow him to their certain deaths. And Lena Headey plays his wife, and she is the lovely Queen Gorgo. And as handsome as the men are, she's just as beautiful and just as nice a figure. You know
well
what I'm
proportioned.
yeah.
Oh. What were you going to say?
There's a lot of nice things to look at in this movie.
Oh my goodness.
And she's as willing as her husband, King Leonidas' soldiers, to do whatever it takes to save Sparta. It is a brutal ballet of battle, with scene upon scene of mutilation and decapitation. But as strange as this sounds, besides the decapitations, the film is not very graphically gory. Although blood flies through the air in large jelly-like droplets across the screen, we never really are witness to the aftermath of most of the forceful spear thrusts. So although there's a whole bunch of battle going on, like I said, it's like a ballet. It's beautifully, beautifully choreographed. The music is entrancing.
Is she an unbelievable writer? Did you hear the words? What was it? A brutal battle of ballet, and now you're talking about choreographed.
It is. It's something to say.
You are a very good writer.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
What did you say about those droplets? They were like jelly.
Large jelly-like droplets. Yeah.
Folks,
and that's just what it looks like.
Folks, I can just picture it. It's
you can.
like being there. You're unbelievable.
Good. And I mean, that's kind of where the comic book aspect comes in. A lot of this is very almost animated. You know, it doesn't look like blood that you'd see in a Scorsese film. It looks like animated blood. Let me see. Okay, but anyway.
I didn't mean to throw you off.
I know, that's all right. I like our little comments to each other. The film has apparently caused quite an uproar in Iran, as the government sees this as humiliating to the Iranian people.
He might have to apologize.
He never will. Since Iran was once known as Persia. The ironic thing is that, like the jihadists of today, the Spartan soldiers see no more glorious way to end their lives than to die for their beloved cause.
Is this the Christians against the Muslims? Is that the?
That's probably a big part of it. Yep. Also, apparently, Frank Miller, the author of the graphic novel, is supposedly quite a hawk and may, in fact, be a favorite of the Bush White House.
Okay.
And I guess this movie has been a huge hit across the country, where there are soldiers stationed. You know, tons and tons of soldiers going to see this and really enjoying it.
Young men, young women, sign up.
Oh yeah.
To the death.
Oh no.
Unfortunately.
I loved the film and was engrossed from the start. Again, the music and effects are mesmerizing, considering that the whole thing was filmed, shot in a warehouse in Montreal, in front of a blue screen. So all the activity between the actors and actresses is in front of just a blue screen. Well, not all of it. There's a couple of scenes.
We should get a blue screen here. What do you think?
Yeah, some good backgrounds for us. And you know, all of the battle scenes anyway were filmed in front of a blue screen, and the backgrounds applied afterwards. It's rated R. It's nonstop violence, but there are many beautiful and touching scenes between both Leonidas and his wife, and Leonidas and his soldiers, in which we see how much his family and his country mean to him. So it's really something to see. 2 thumbs up. It is rated R. It's not for the kids.
Well, I have to tell you, as I read the paper, and I do try to read a little more about the arts and entertainment now that you're on the show. Good. Not much, but I got the feeling that the critics didn't like this movie.
You'll find critics that have absolutely loved it and critics that hate it. Absolutely hate it. And there's
I met one, I guess,
so
who didn't
much
like it.
written about it, though. Newsweek did a whole piece about the Iranian government's reaction to it, which I thought was interesting. And just talking about, I know how you were talking about war a little, this kind of brings up war, and you can't help but think of the Iraq War. Newsweek has a special edition this week in which it has letters written home from soldiers who have since died in Iraq, and it's an incredibly moving issue, probably one of the most moving things Newsweek has ever done. And not only is it just random letters home, it's also the letters that the soldiers were encouraged to write before, just in case they died, and they have these letters that the families received after getting notice of their deaths. But if you haven't picked up Newsweek this week, I highly recommend this issue. It's really stirring, really incredible.
The sad thing about movies glorifying battles and war, ballet of battle.
There we have it.
I mean, with the internet today, you are able to see. I saw some pictures of some of the people injured in Iraq from these explosions. I mean, these aren't censored pictures. And
right.
it's not a nice thing, you know, and what these people are experiencing is horror,
Yeah,
horrible.
it
You know,
nice
war is horror.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not, you know.
Absolutely.
But
But
my
I
son
did
wants
like
to
the
see
movie.
it. My son, can my son see
Well,
it?
you know, 13, it's rated R, and
I
it's
know, well.
brutally violent. I mean, again, it's not.
But I thought they were
graphically
like jelly.
violent. I know.
Jelly on the
I mean,
screen.
it's rated R, though. I mean, the language. There's no problem with the language. It's very,
No
easy
sex?
language. Hints of it, intimations of it, but nothing.
Nothing graphic.
No, again, for a graphic.
It's a graphic novel. There's no graphic
nothing
sex.
graphic. Okay, let's move on.
All right. I'm going to let him see it.
The next movie.
If he's watching this, he's going to hold me to that.
What?
Maybe I'll let him see it.
You should see it first and decide,
Okay,
because I'm not
all
going to let TJ see it. Okay.
TJ, I'm going to let my son see it.
Okay, the next movie that is still out in the theaters, actually just opened about a week ago, is called Shooter. And it's directed by 41-year-old Pittsburgh-born Antoine, and I'm not quite sure how to say this guy's last name. So I'm going to say Fuqua.
I'll go with that.
Okay. He directed Denzel Washington in 2001's Training Day, and he also directed Bruce Willis in another movie you should see, the 2003 Tears of the Sun. Now, just to get off Shooter for a minute, Tears of the Sun is a story of American military having to go into an African country to extricate some missionaries that have now become in the line of fire. And they kind of get mixed up with some of the African refugees at the same time. And it's funny, when I saw this film, and I saw it when it opened in 2003, I was working with a Nigerian doctor, and we'd always talk about movies, and I came in and I told him, oh, I saw this movie over the weekend. He said, oh, I've read the reviews, it's all stereotypes, I'm not going to see that, because he's from Africa. Well, he did see it, and he loved it. So I figure if a Nigerian-born person can see this film and say that it's true, then you should see it. It's great. It's probably one of Bruce Willis's best, most underrated
And that's called
performances.
Tears of
and that's
the-
called Tears of the Sun. I'm not really reviewing that.
But
the
folks,
same
it's a good
director-
movie.
It's a good movie.
Okay.
The same director directed Shooter, which I'm going to talk more about now.
Okay.
All right, Shooter is Mark Wahlberg's foray into the shoot-'em-up action hero star genre. Wahlberg plays ex-military special ops agent, listen to this stupid name, Bob Lee Swagger. And I'm telling you, if there is anyone in the world who doesn't look like a Bob Lee Swagger, it's Mark Wahlberg. So that was the beginning of the end for me right there.
That set the tone, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, names play a big role. And this is a name that I picked up on right away. Sometimes I have to go after the movie and look up, what was that character's name? That's when I remember
Bob
it
Lee
right away.
Swagger.
So anyway, Bob Lee Swagger was left to die on a covert mission gone awry after seeing his best buddy blown away right in front of him. After having exacted revenge upon those who left him and his buddy out to dry, he heads deep into the hills to live out his days alone, peacefully, just he and his beloved Budweiser-fetching dog.
I've seen him on
That's pretty
TV.
cool. He goes
I've
to
seen
the
him on
fridge.
TV.
The dog?
The Budweiser dog.
This is awesome. The dog goes to the fridge, opens the fridge, gets the bud, and brings it to him. And by far, the dog was the most likable character in the whole film.
Budweiser paid for a little spot in this film, eh?
You're not kidding. So Bob Lee Swagger's got special skills, and they're needed once again by the government. Some government agents, led by Danny Glover, who has a very strange lisp, a very strange speech affect in this film. And I don't know if he's had a stroke, because it almost sounds as if this is something that he wasn't trying to do. It's something that happened. And I know this is awful to say, but I kind of hope that that is what happened, because if this was something that he put on as an affectation to sound villainous, it doesn't work. It's definitely a detriment to the character, because it's almost laughable. And I know that that's not nice to say, but if he had a stroke, God love him, he's doing the best he can. If he didn't, and this was just something someone said, try this to be villainous, it really
You remind me, I better take my baby aspirin today.
Take the baby aspirin every day. So anyway, they suck him back into this conspiracy, and the film follows Bob Lee's betrayal once again at the hands of those he trusts. You'd think he would have learned by now. And the only person he really comes to rely on during his run from the law is a brand spanking new FBI agent played just newbie-ish, you know, just right.
Did you hear that, folks? Newbie-ish.
By Michael Pena. Now, I don't know if you know Michael Pena, but you should, because he was in World Trade Center. He played Nicolas Cage's partner. That was a good movie. I liked that. I reviewed that. And most notably, I think the role that he had that's made the most impact on me, he was in Crash, which was a couple of years ago, won the Academy Award for Best Picture. He played the locksmith, and he has an incredible couple of scenes in Crash. If you haven't seen Crash, definitely see that.
That's a lot of movies I have to see.
You know what? Everything I reviewed this week kind of led to other things.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
So anyway, the film follows Bob Lee all around as he tries to extricate himself from the biggest trouble you can ever imagine. I wanted to love this film. I usually like this kind of film. I like Rambo. You know, I usually like...
She likes men with six-packs.
Yeah. And I love Mark Wahlberg, as you know. He's a homeboy. I love, you know, my Dorchester homeboy. I wanted him to do so well. This is his first, I'd say, really big starring role. But this film just falls flat. It's derivative of every other type of this film. There's nothing new. There's no new twists. And Wahlberg simply doesn't need to do this kind of junk. As you probably know, he was recently nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in Martin Scorsese's The Departed. And although I absolutely hated The Departed, I thought Wahlberg was terrific. He was great. And I can only hope that this movie, Shooter, was a favor he owed someone, and he will leave this kind of junk to the Steven Seagals of the world. And I've actually enjoyed some of Steven Seagal's movies more than this, and that's saying something. It was PG-13. You know, it's violent. It's more graphically violent. Just didn't like it. Didn't like it.
Fine.
Really wanted
Shooter.
to. So
Boom.
that's 2 thumbs down. Sorry.
But Tears of the Sun.
Tears of the Sun, by
There
the
you
same
go.
director. 2 thumbs up.
What's the director's name again?
2003. Antoine Fuqua.
Fuqua.
I think.